Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with the weekly comic book roundup. We've come to this week's AXE tie-ins as well as New Fantastic Four. Now it's time to move on to, well, this week's non-AXE X-Men books and a few other Marvel books. And a non-Marvel book, too. Kicking things off, we've got New Mutants number 29. Where we left off, well, Magic had ceded rulership of Limbo to Madeline Pryor. And that all of that had been resolved. Well, the transfer of power and whatnot. There are other elements that clearly have not been, but yeah. So this is more just like a one-off issue. Apparently, Scout is missing, and Daken's concerned. Goes to Proudstar to Warpath about it, and Jimmy's able to calm him down. They follow her through. The two of them follow her trail through a gate, which leads to Orca's facility. And so, Jimmy and Daken go in and wreck house. We find well, Orcus has been removing and transferring end-of-world scenario modules throughout various facilities. First, a snowstorm hits inside the facility, and it turns out that most of the guards they're dealing with are, in fact, holograms. But they get through. The guards are knocked out, and Warpath discovers that, well, Scout had been there and managed to, and had fled. So, and it looked like she fled probably around the time they were arriving. So, amends are made between Daken and Warpath, and they go back to Krakoa. Gabby explains that there was a pizza place she wanted to go to, and she accidentally took the wrong gate. And suggests that maybe her and Dagen go for pizza together. But turns out that she did more than just kind of go in and go right back out. She also whooped a bunch of ass inside the facility, and it's more likely that the alarms and whatnot were triggered were already going off were because of her rather than Jimmy and Daken. But she writes a letter to Daken, kind of saying, "Hey, basically saying that he's being overprotective of her." While she appreciates that, at the same time, the Howlett family can more than handle themselves. And that Gabby misses how he used to be towards her. That is where the issue ends. I think the next issue is supposed to be a anniversary celebration as the Mutants made their first appearance 40 years ago. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got X-Men and Moon Girl. Where we left off, Moon Girl had gone to the moon with Captain Marvel. They found Double Dinosaur, who was apparently the prisoner of High Evolutionary, and as were Havoc and Wolverine, and High Evolutionary was trying to use Wolverine's blood to stabilize the clones of Double Dinosaur. However, High Evolutionary escaped with the Wolverine's blood samples and Double Dinosaur. Moon Girl, Havoc, and Wolverine go to Counter Earth after Moon Girl makes some disguises for them. so they at least somewhat appear to be anthropomorphic animals. Wolverine's a porcupine, and while Havoc is a hippo. They find High Evolutionary's stronghold, break in, attempt to free Devil Dinosaur, make the move to free Devil Dinosaur while Moon Girl goes to free Devil Dinosaur while Havoc and Wolverine deal with the guards. Message that Dee Dee doesn't recognize her. But High Evolutionary wants to make her an offer. Basically, he would put her mind into Devil Dinosaur's body. She declines, and it's more. He kind of explained that he was. Well, yes, she was given a choice. Mainly just to say she was given a choice before he forces her into it. The transfer begins to occur, but yeah. And Double Dinosaur calls forth the clones that Shuri was studying in Wakanda. Turns out that Havoc planted a gate, which allowed and since the clones have Wolverine's blood in them, they're able to pass through the gates. Clones and Devil Dinosaur all return to Wakanda, and as does Moon Girl, who is found by her parents, who also, while she's giving Devil Dinosaur a hug. That is where the issue ends, and this is apparently the last of our group of Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur one shots. I believe at the end there's an ongoing that's supposed to debut later in the year. Haven't decided if we pick that up or not. We'll see. Moving on to it, but otherwise it was a fun series of one shots. I dug it. Moving on to our next book, we've got Ghost Rider number 6. Where we left off, something seemed to be tearing its way out of the scar on Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze's head, while during a bike race along the Devil's Backbone. Wolverine did what he could to help Johnny, so he's taken to a bar. Wolverine takes Johnny to a bar in Utah. And he's going to deal with the whatever it is inside him, or inside of Blaze. Also, Agent Wilmer, or the demon masquerading as him, has brought Talia Warroad and Zebediah to the unknown cemetery. Alabaster decided he's going to put Wilmer back in place and be done with Warroad. But whatever it is that's inside Blaze is apparently everywhere. So Wolverine gets an idea and decides to bring forth the Rider. Maybe if the two of them work together, they can, they can basically fix what's wrong with Johnny. Back in the unknown cemetery, Alabaster is stabbed with his own walking stick by Zebediah. and Wilmer is also seemingly killed. But Zebediah tells Warroad to find the Ghost Rider because Ghost Rider will be needed in the battle ahead. But working together, both Johnny and the Rider working together, they're able to remove whatever demonic entity was within him, and the scar on the side of Johnny's head is gone. However, a piece of the critter has infested one of the patrons at the bar that this little bargain basement exorcism took place at. And that is where the issue ends. This was fun. I really do appreciate the fact that X-Force and the current Wolverine ongoing solo title are written by Benjamin Percy as well as Ghost Rider, because it's always a little disconcerting when a writer who isn't regularly writing a character does so, because sometimes the characterization just feels generally feels a little off at those points. Moving on, though, to our next book, we've got Moon Knight number 15. Where we left off, Moon Knight was having a discussion with his alters, and they kind of suggested that maybe he's the problem, not them. So Moon Knight's discussing this and his new arrangement with his therapist. Basically, kind of going back to how things were with all three of them equally contributing. And so, Jake Lockley gets some intel when it comes to vampires, and Stephen Grant, since he intends to make a movie about focusing on super villains, because superhero movies are all the craze, but no one wants to do a super villain movie. Lockley gets some information directing him to Chinatown. Grant gets write-ups on information on the two assassins that Moon Knight barely survived a run-in with. The Nemean and Grand Mall. We find out that Mark Spector's of choice is vodka. Ice cold. In Chinatown, Jake Lockley is tracking his leads, but things get a little violent, and so Jake removes his fake mustache and introduces himself as Mark. He then later we see him telling Soldier about his DID. Soldier takes it in stride. Okay, that's fine. Hunter's Moon. Hunter's Moon is accepting of it. Everyone bears the mark of Khonshu differently. Reese, Reese is accepting of it. And Mark says he should have told her beforehand. The two of them have an awkward hug, and Reese asks about Chinatown, and that is where the issue ends. I kind of feel like the arc of having Moon Knight fight vampires is so a nod to that meme of Moon Knight demanding money from Dracula. Money owed him from Dracula. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Punisher number 6. Where we left off, Frank had gone to Ares' temple to alone to deal with the god of war, who sees Frank as his greatest disciple, and is rather perturbed that his greatest disciple has seemingly left for another. So the retcons we go through are Maria remembering the final days of her pregnancy. Her and Frank getting married, their honeymoon at a hotel in Coney Island. The fact that he never touched her belly. And then a couple of days after they were married, Frank shipped off to Sian Kong. Frank fights Ares. Ares is trying to, it seems Ares is trying to get through to him, but it's not. It's not really working. Ares ends up beating the holy hell out of Frank, and even after using some hellfire and a hand dagger, well, he gets the holy hell further beaten out of him and left for dead. And apparently, when Frank was sent a picture of his firstborn child, he felt nothing. But he's healed by the beast, and the attempts to resurrect his children, once again, they failed, with Priestess explaining that it's harder to resurrect someone who's been dead longer than they were alive. But Frank opts to be the one to put his reborn children out of their misery. While thinking about facing what he's done, Frank has a visitor. One of the leaders of the Fist, Daredevil, who wants to know just what the hell Frank is doing, or thinks he's doing. And that is where the issue ends. I was starting to get the feeling that this was kind of leading towards I still get the feeling that this book, as well as the current Daredevil ongoing, are basically moving on a collision course into a crossover. Anyway, moving on to our last book for the moment, we've got Magic the Gathering number 18. And our hidden planeswalker, or secret planeswalker variant. We've got Oko. Yeah, everyone's favorite planeswalker. Personally, I'm indifferent. I didn't play against the meta Oko decks when they went before that Oko got banned from certain formats. So yeah. Anyway, where we left off, Chandra, Garuk, Dalriel Kane, and others were planning to end Tezzeret's rule of Ravnica. On Ravnica, Tezzeret has summoned his hench planeswalker, Tybalt, because Tezzeret has realized that, Dalriel Kane must have talked. So Tybalt goes to New Capenna, where it turns out Gabriel Kane has a safe house where Kane and his allies are waiting for Tybalt. His ally. Only it's not just Garuk, Chandra, and I can't remember our Feroci planeswalker's name, but also Teferi. And so, Tybalt runs. He just run for 5 minutes, the barrier will be down. And he planeswalks away. However, doesn't want to keep in mind, Teferi is a renowned time mage who could stretch an instant into however long he needs to, potentially allowing for the others to planeswalk to Ravnica in the instant that the barrier's down. And they have, with Garuk and Chandra causing chaos on a Celestial Worm, Jace freeing Tomek, Ral, and Kaya, and then Vraska. Well, Jace frees Tomek and Kaya. Kaya frees Ral, and then Jace goes to free Vraska. Jace explains to Vraska that he came back from death for her. And so, the Planeswalkers stand face to face with Tezzeret, while the immortal sun is destroyed. After Chandra states that Tezzeret's count is off. They're not 6. That is where the issue ends. So it looks like we're getting another massive Planeswalker fight on Ravnica. After all, that's pretty much what War of the Spark boiled down to. All the Planeswalkers versus the forces of Nicol Bolas. And that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.